We have been taking a look at the different candidates who are running for office over the last few weeks. We've been concentrating on that. And joining me in studio, candidate for Texas 19, running for Congress, Dr. John Key in studio. Dr. Key, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Chad. It's very privileged to be here this morning. And we're looking forward to a lively conversation.
Well, excellent. Appreciate you coming in today. Tell folks who may not know who Dr. Key is, tell folks a little bit about yourself.
Well, we hope a lot of people know who Dr. Key is because he's been around a day or two. I have a long South Plains history. Our families came out here in the 20s. My mother was Bertha McAllister. My dad was John E. Key, who was prominent at Lubbock National Bank in agriculture. Mother was a sister to R.B. McAllister, one of the radio and TV icons of the area and a state representative. We have a long history of working in the community. I attended Monterey High School, was a Lone Star farmer and an Eagle Scout, a long-time interest in agriculture. Went on to the Rodeo Club at Texas Tech before going to Texas A&M and getting a DVM degree, graduating veterinary school at 22 years of age. Moving on from there, in that time of the era, to the U.S. Army, Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, working with malaria and schistosomiasis, tropical diseases. During that time, came back to Lubbock, established Key Animal Clinic, one of the prominent veterinary clinics in town. We've been here for an awful long time. Moved on to the Lubbock Small Animal Emergency Clinic project with 10 colleagues so that we have a community night service available to the whole area. Participated in other things in the community, former chairman of the Lubbock City County Health Department, Health Board, rather. I get it tongue twisted a little bit because I'm not a polished politician. I'm just a country boy that's out here working for this job. Moving on to working with education in the U.S. Army with West Point as an admissions officer for the area that went from Dalhart to Lubbock and across to Childress, so covered quite a large area with educators and candidates. Currently, we're working actively with Sharp Academy, which is a school for dyslexic and ADHD kids. It was established about 6 years ago. We moved from 4 students to 70-some-odd students now, and are in the process of even expanding more. There's a lot of needs out here in our community. There's a lot of reasons why I jumped into this candidacy here.
Well, and that is that's my next question is, what is it that, with your long history here in Lubbock and being a vet, what is it that I guess was maybe the tipping point for you to say, I need to run. I need to run this time? Well,
I've been aggravated for a while, and even the last couple of years I talked to Nita and I said, well, I may jump in there and take on Randy, but I just couldn't find the right opportunity to do that. This is a lot better opportunity. We've had some little minor health issues with Nita here earlier in the year that we're getting squared away, so it took me a little while to finally decide because you've got to put God and family and other things first before these projects. You can't just jump in there and say, I'm going to ignore everything that's going on in my life and move on to something that's serious.
Right.
But we've got that taken care of, and to put it bluntly, I was just totally pissed off about the situation. So I decided I'd just kick it in there. I looked at the candidates that are in there. Some of them are appealing to me. Some of them are not as appealing to me. I thought I could do as good a job or better job than a number of the candidates. So,
what are the top issues in your mind? What is it that you mentioned earlier? You're pissed off about things.
Well,
what is it that pushed you over the edge and said, I need to run. I can do something about this?
Well, I talk to a lot of clients, and we have issues with certainly insurance and Medicare. And when I got to be a certain age, Medicare kicked in, and Medicare creates unavailability and a lot of other issues to you, or difficult availability. The services, our expenses went up tremendously on our insurance cost for our personal insurance, so we went from spending, being qualified with Nita, being a rep at AT&T and then retirement. Well, we got a pretty good program from them. Well, we hit our retirement age, and no longer is all that stuff clearly available at the same level. And so we're just getting hit between the eyes with a 2x4 there. we talk to our clients, and they're getting hit between the eyes with other things that are going on. We visit about a number of different issues. So, when you talk about those things, they just come and cry to you about what's happening, because when you go to your veterinarian, some people talk about other things besides they're just dogs and cats. So we've got a lot of things out there that worry us. But I guess insurance, health, veterans issues, talking to the veterans, there's a number of issues there. Education, it's a big issue to me. Now, I didn't bring up the Homeland Security, the national deal. These are presidential issues to me. They're going to be up to our leadership of what our leadership does for us. When we get a Republican president, we may have the leadership that takes care of solving some of these problems. But as a freshman member of the House of Representatives, I'm not going to be able to do a whole lot about those issues. The leadership's going to have to come from the top down to take care of those topics. So I'm more concerned about these economic and actual everyday happenings with our community.
You said that you had thought about running against the current congressman, Randy Neugebauer, a few different times. What was it that he did that you would have done differently?
I don't know that it's what he did, but what he necessarily didn't do.
Okay.
I'm not sure that he's been as active as he could have been in the agriculture community. I'm not sure that he's been down in the trenches up in Congress like he might have been, working very actively at the subcommittee level and getting some of our projects accomplished. I'm not sure that just sitting there and voting against everything is going to take care of everything for us. It's my way or the highway mentality just seems to get us a higher national debt and not any farther down the road. So you've got to be proactive and participate and work in those areas to get something accomplished.
Are you talking about making deals, compromising? What are you talking about there?
Well, certainly we've got special interest here. There's no question that we've got special interest here in District 19. Agriculture is a big special interest. Energy, renewable energies are big special interest to our area. And it's a question of wants and needs. So we've had too many things where we supplied the wants for different people in many situations, and we didn't look at what the needs really were. So often we are not able to supply the wants for me and you. Often the people that are out here in the public are not able to get all the wants that they want. They have to work hard to accomplish the needs that they have. And this is the problem with Congress. It's not taking care of needs as much as taking care of wants of different groups. So it's not just totally wants, though. I mean, we're talking about a big economic issue, homeland security issue when we're talking about agriculture and maybe even energy. So we can look at that as a subsidy or that sort of thing. But, of course, we've got subsidies in all area of the economy,
And we'll talk about that when we come back. We're visiting with Dr. John Key in studio, candidate for Texas 19. When we come back, we'll talk about subsidies. We'll also get into a few other areas of domestic policy and other policy as well. Chad Hasty Show, KFYO. We'll be right back. In studio with me right now, Dr. John Key, candidate for Congress, Texas 19th Congressional District. We were talking, Dr. Key, about subsidies, I guess.
Well, let's kind of talk about that, because in my view, we're talking more about safety nets.
Okay.
So certainly farmers need a safety net, and they need some protection from big downside losses from the weather and from unavoidable events and that sort of thing. So we've certainly got to take a look at that insurance program, that we get that effectively in there. Whether we can get back to pricing and subsidies, I personally seriously doubt that that's a possibility that we could get it done. So people can say we might do those things, but reality is, regardless of who's president, we're probably not going to get that done. A lot of the assumptions we make are assuming that we get our Republican candidate for president elected. Well, this is not an absolute sure thing, because we may get a different picture out here in Lubbock, because we talk to very conservative people that have a different view than the nation as a whole. So we got to be prepared either way on how we're going to function as a congressman, and a lot of differences in how we would pursue that. Wind energy is very, very important to this whole district. We have a huge amount of wind farms, from Abernathy south and over to Sweetwater and all over the area here. It's one of the biggest areas and the big potential here. So I think we've got to protect wind energy. And, as agriculture, one of the top 10 agriculture areas in the country, agriculture districts, we've got to be consolidating and working with these other agriculture districts to get the things that we need for agriculture as a whole.
One of the things that I think separates you maybe from others in this race is that, and you're running as a conservative, you say I'm conservative, but you also have a little bit of a libertarian streak in you, which I think that does separate you from everyone else, doesn't it?
I can't say for sure about the other guys, but I certainly would say that I'm a social libertarian. I don't want to be in everybody else's business. I am married to a nice, beautiful woman, Nita. Nita has her MBA over at Wayland, and she's very free with her advice about different subjects and things, particularly on the economic issues. So I get good advice there, but I don't want to be out there telling everybody else what to do and making decisions for how they should lead their life. I lead my life in a certain way, and they should be able to do those things. I don't know that I would go so far as just saying that we would legalize drugs and legalize marijuana and that sort of thing. I think there's a limit to libertarianism that's practical, but I think it is a thing that might separate me with some of the folks.
How does that message, when you talk about that libertarian streak that you have, when you go around and you talk to people who are out in the district, and you said that you've been campaigning more the eastern part of the district, how does that message
I've talked
reflect?
To ranchers and businessmen and different folks in a number of areas and participated in a number of forums, and sometimes we can express this more clearly than others depending on the event that's with it, but in one-on-one talks and one-on-one communication, which is my best suit of working with people, it comes across very good. I think most everybody is tired of people minding their business and minding somebody else's business, and are ready to take care of things for themselves. So they want the economy taken care of. They want Social Security and Medicare and Obamacare fixed, and the problems that we've got with those taken care of. But they don't have time to go deal with everybody else's situation. They want to live their life the way they think it is, and if it's not appropriate for somebody else, as long as they're not forcing it on them, they don't think it's something that they want to be involved with.
Let me ask you about an issue that will come up for the next Congress, no matter who the president is, and that's immigration. What are your thoughts on border security? What needs to be done? There are some thoughts out there of building a wall across the entire border. Others say, part wall, part strategic fencing, part, boots on the ground. And then also a second part of that, what should happen to those who are in the country already, who are already here illegally?
Well, this is the hard question. Obviously, we can't build a wall all the way around the south part of the country. It's physically impossible. So that is just a metaphor that people are putting out there. I think we do need to have practical components of border security, so that may involve some boots on the ground. It's definitely going to involve technology in a number of other areas, and it's going to involve leadership support from the president and from the executive department taking care of it, which is what we're weak on right now. We just don't have it. Texas has done a pretty good job of working on Texas, but moving on to the other component of that, obviously we're going to have a program set up that deals with it. The criminals, the obvious situation, the sanctuary cities, that needs to go. There's no question. Criminals ought to be shipped. If they need to be held in prison 5 years, fine, and then ship them. I don't know about the expense of that, but if they're just going to come back and do more criminal stuff, well, then they probably ought to have them in prison a while before they're shipped. It just becomes a thing, but the practicality is we can't deport 11 or 12 million people. That's just not economically or physically possible to do, so we'll have to have a program. I think we will have some leadership and guidance on that from whoever the president is, and it may be more or less one way or another.
Do you do and there will be what it's called a pathway to citizenship. Do you put people on a pathway to citizenship, or do you put them on a pathway towards more of a legal status, but you don't get full citizenship?
I don't think you have to put them on a pathway to citizenship. I think you could very well be looking at a green card work permit type situation for a number of these things, but they are a large component of our workforce in many areas, so it is something that we do have to look at, and a lot of these people have assimilated into the area. We're not talking about necessarily people that have just come over a few months ago. We may be talking about people that came over 20 years ago, and have well-established American families. So we'll have to look at a pattern that works out for the best for all of those things. I think we will have several programs that are suggested by the different presidential candidates, and I guess that, we'll go ahead and assume we get our Republican president.
We're visiting with Dr. John Key in studio. Before I let you go, I want to ask you real quick about a little bit about foreign policy, because when people hear libertarian, some people start freaking out that means weak on military spending. When it comes to the military, what is your, overall philosophy when it comes to using the military?
Well, I'm very pro-military. I'm a retired colonel from the U.S. Army, and I've had a long time participation with military and veterans, and certainly we're absolutely for protection of the country, and we want a strong military and a strong world presence that recognizes and respects America, which just seems to be what we've lost. Now we are talking about strategic things on some of these other things, so whether we should have boots on the ground somewhere or whether we should be trying to bomb somebody to smithereens or that sort of thing, I'm not, that's a hypothetical out there in the future, and I couldn't make a recommendation on that. But I think we definitely need world respect, and we definitely need to be prepared to take care of anything that's necessary. So the Iranians certainly worry me, and some of the other areas worry me. And
as we wrap up, tell folks where they can find out more information about you.
Well, Chad, we can get me at keyforcongress.com. We're also on Facebook, John C. Key, and we've got a Twitter, Key for Congress. I'm very available. I'm very open to people. I'm a very good communicator and participator in things, a problem solver, a solution finder, and the kind of guy that listens to the public and finds the solution.
Dr. Key, appreciate you coming in today.